Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Simon and today I am back with my June book haul part 2. I know we're in July, but things are going to be a little bit sort of belated. Well, things are always belated with me a little bit, but I just said that, a little bit belated with me a little bit. They're the same thing, Simon, come on. Anyway, things might be a little bit more belated than usual because I am trying to record 3 weeks worth of videos this week, because after this week I'm away from home for just over 2 weeks. So yeah, that's why you might get some more sort of June content spreading a bit further into July and possibly not get my best books of the year so far until towards the end of July. But that's all lovely things to come, hopefully. That's how I see it. That's hopefully how you'll see it. Anyway, let's have a chat about the books that I got in the second half of June. First up, the books that I was sent by publishers, as always, and Hungry by Grace Dent and Rumen Allen by Leave the World Alone by Rumen Allen turned up from publishers because they're two of the picks for mine and Melanie's book club, which is changing to the Frank book club with Melanie Sykes and Simon Savidge, as it's going to be on this channel but also on the Frank magazine website. The first one of the two that we're reading is Grace Dent's Hungry. This is her memoir. I read half of it last year for Sky Arts Book Club Live, which I'll be talking to you about on Thursday, and 18 books that I think you should be reading, possibly along with me over the next 6 months. I feel like I've said too much, but more on that on Thursday. That stands a reason that some of my June videos are going back a little bit. Anyway, I love this. I'm really looking forward to reading the first half again and finishing it. I've actually got it on audio as well, potentially, because I thought that'd be quite good while I'm travelling about. And I think the next time I'm in Liverpool is possibly when Melanie's here too. So yeah, I need to read it before then. Then we're actually going to be reading a book that Melanie bought me when we recorded in the book bar. I'll link that video down below, plus our latest video, which, yes, there is a little bit of drilling in the background, but we tell you our, well, these four that I'm telling you about now, but we talk about Sugar Bones, go and see that one. Anyway, when we were in the book bar talking about Graham Norton's latest novel, we picked up, well, Melanie picked us both Diary of a Young Naturalist by Dara McNulty, which she really wants us to read. So we'll be reading that next. Then I think we're reading Leave the World Behind, followed by Elena Ferrante's The Lying Life of Adults, which is set in, I think it's in Naples, and it's about Giovanna, who I think her parents are quite mean to her when she's younger. As she grows up, they say that she looks ugly and spiteful, and it's what she does with that. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, so really I was showing you those two, but I couldn't not mention these two either. So we're 3 minutes in and I've only talked about two of them. Then I was sent a copy of the paperback of The Mercies by Kieran Millward Hargrave. This is one of my absolute favourite books of last year, and I was doing an event for the paperback launch with Waterstones. That was actually last night as I record this and this goes live. It was a lovely event, and what was kind of stressful briefly was that she lost connection because she was out on a remote Scottish island, but then when she joined us she was outside on the island, which is very much matching the topic of the book, like the wilderness of an island, as this is set on an island in the 1600s where on one awful night all the men are killed when there is a freak storm, and it's how the women on the island have to survive and how they deal with their grief, and then what happens when men try to take over and try to keep them in line. It's based on some real witch trials. It's phenomenal. So we have that. The lovely folk at Vintage sent me Push by Sapphire. I've not read this, and I think it's like 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary. I don't think I've seen the film either. So yeah, I should read this and maybe watch them. I am wondering if that would be a good vlog to do at some point, where I read a book, watch the movie adaptation, then compare the two. Then a book arrived from the lovely folk at Faber that I wasn't sure about it when it arrived, and then literally thought about it loads. Almost bought it on Independent Book Week when I bought a lot of books, which I'll be talking about in a little bit, and then nearly read it when I went to Portsmouth last week when I was by the sea, because it's set by the sea, but read it for but didn't read it, but will be reading it for another reading vlog coming up, which is a word association reading vlog. I shall say no more about it. You can try and guess what word made me think of this, and I'll see. It'd be interesting actually to see what words you think of when I mention this book, which is, get on with it, Savidge, The Feast by Margaret Kennedy. And this is a reissued classic, I think, which is all about a hotel in Cornwall in 1947 that collapses and gets buried, and it's about the people who are staying there who are also burying their own secrets, or had their own secrets buried, that were sort of coming to the fore potentially. And it just really intrigued me. The only thing that makes me nervous about this book is it's described as a miniature charm of baby Austen, and I'm a bit like that with Jane Austen. I really like Persuasion, but yeah, anyway, I will be reading this very, very soon. Naturally, the other day, about to do a name drop clang alert, Tracy Chevalier really recommended me this. That was another sign. Oops, my battery died. I don't think that has ever happened in filming on my phone, so there's been a little time gap while I've had to charge it for about 20 minutes. But the next book is Waiting for the Waters to Rise, which World Editions sent me, by Mary C. Condé, and this is about a man called Babacar, who is a doctor. He's living alone, and all he's got is the memories of his mother and his ex-lover, who are both gone. And one day he meets a young girl called Anais, and Anais has no one either. And I don't know how they almost form this sort of daughter-father bond, but they do, and they both go back to Haiti, where Anais's mother was from, and we follow on from what happens there. I'm really intrigued by this one. So yeah, I'll look up to it. It was the winner of the Alternative Nobel Prize. I didn't know there was an alternative Nobel Prize, so I need to find out more about that, because that sounds brilliant. Now, I have this author's debut novel, and I haven't read it, and I really should have, because I think I would really like it. And it is With Teeth by Kirsten Arnott. Now, I don't know anything about this book other than I really wanted to read her first book. So, it's quite a long blurb. But apparently it's a surprising and moving story of two mothers, one difficult son, and the limitations of marriage, parenthood, and love. And I think it's about queer family. So that really intrigues me, and I've seen quite a few people raving about it already on Instagram, so I shall look forward to it. But I always feel like when I've got the author's debut, I should read that one first. Then we have English Pastoral and Inheritance by James Rebanks. This is a book that I'm going to be reading for work and may well be telling you about on Thursday. I don't know anything about this book either. This is Dialogue Books Super Lead. Now, I will admit that Dialogue Books and me, I either really get on with them or I really don't. There doesn't seem to be any middle ground. But this is J.J. Bowler's The Selfless Act of Breathing. And it's a story of millennial existent angst. I'm not sure I feel about that. Through the eyes of a young Londoner who seems to have it all. Michael has a promising future, a solid career, strong friendships, a blossoming love story, but it's the unbearable weight of issues bigger than him that lead Michael to decide to take his life. Oh, blimey, that sounds quite So yeah, I will get to this one, because if it's one that they really are wanting to push, I mean, I think it's possibly about a young black man as well, but we'll see. I'm intrigued from reading that short snippet, actually. Then another book that I don't know anything about other than Sarah Winman told me that I should read it, and therefore I feel like I should read it. It is Moth by Melody Razak, and on the back, well, it's set in Delhi in 1946, so that instantly intrigues me, because I would like to read a lot more Indian fiction, because when I read it, generally, I love it. I find India really fascinating. And actually, Sarah Woman is quoted on the back as saying, "I adored Moth. It's one of the best debuts I've ever read. It made my heart swell." It says, Ma and Bapu are liberal intellectuals, can't say that because I'm not one, teaching at the local university. Their 14-year-old daughter, precocious, headstrong Alma, is soon to be married. Alma is mostly interested in her wedding shoes and in spinning wild stories for her beloved younger sister, Roop, a restless child obsessed with death. Times are bad for girls in India. The long-awaited independence from British rule is heralding a new era of hope, but also of anger and distrust. Political unrest is brewing, threatening to unravel the rich tapestry of Delhi, a city where different cultures, religions, and traditions have coexisted for centuries. And then we follow up what happens when partition happens. So, yeah, this sounds very much the sort of thing that I would enjoy. So I shall head to this in due course. And then I think I'm going to give this to Pip, because I was sent a lovely package from Hodder. I really wanted to giggle when I was sent a lovely package. I'm so sorry, that's so childish, but I'm going to leave that in because that's me. Yeah, it's In the Heights, Finding Home. And I went and saw In the Heights with Pip, and she really loved it. and I wasn't really, I mean, I liked it, but I wasn't blown away by it. I think I was actually slightly disappointed by it, if I'm honest. So I'm going to give her this because she really, really loved it, and I think it looks at like how it was written and where you get the different characters, because it was a West End show and stuff. So yeah, that one's going to go to Pip, but I thought I would mention it in case any of you have seen the film and would like a copy of it, and I will link all the books down below. And then last but not least, from publishers, a finished copy of Dorothy Coomson's I Know What You've Done. I would like to read Dorothy Coomson. Loads and loads of people have told me I would really, really like her books. I've got a few of them, I just haven't got around to it. So when I'm next in the mood for a thriller, maybe, this will be the one. So, on to books that I have bought for myself. There were 3 that I didn't buy. In fact, no, there were 5 that I didn't buy during Independent Bookshop Week. Which I did a whole vlog on, which I'll link down below, because I would love you to see it. I would love you to go and watch my reading vlogs. I really, really enjoy making them, and I love editing them, which shouldn't mean that necessarily you should love them as much as I love them, because that would be egotistical. But you know what I mean? When you're really proud of something, you want people to watch it. Anyway, so the first 3 that I got before I went on a major spree on Independent Bookshop Week were Silly Me by Ruby Elliott, which is from the Pound Project, which is this independent press that I've discovered and absolutely love. I discovered it because of Jess Phillips' latest book, Mother, and I got me and my mum a copy of that. And then this is, I think, the first graphic novel, well, novella, pamphlet that they've done. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading Silly Me by Ruby Elliott. But do check them out. I'll put a link to them down below, because always about celebrating publishers. And basically, they only print the books that are sort of pre-ordered, and I think they do it in a really good way, that the author earns a lot and they carry on going, basically. So yeah, there's that. I also got myself The Wild Silence by Raina Wynn, which I forgot I had a proof of. So yeah, so at least I can take that one and sort of battle the proof about, and then I've got this to keep afterwards. I really, really thought The Salt Path, I keep spinning around, I really, really thought The Salt Path was brilliant, and so I've been looking forward to her follow-up. And then on Sarah Winman's advice again, she mentioned this when I did an event with her for the 4 indies, which is 4 independent bookshops that do events together, and they're fabulous. But she really, really recommended Together 10 Choices for a Better Now by E.C. Temilkuran, and I think this is 10 examples, or as he looks at 10 moments in different people's lives where they've done things that have been joyous and powerful and amazing, and some of this went into the joyousness that is Sarah Winman's latest book. So yeah, I'm really, really keen to read this, because I know that it was an influence for Sarah. Then the books that I bought on Independent Bookshop Week before, 2 that or even actually no, I didn't buy 5 afterwards, but 6 afterwards. We'll get to it. I'm confusing myself and therefore probably confusing you. Let's just say which books I got during Independent Bookshop Week. The first of which was The Employees by Olga Ravna, which is a workplace novel of the 22nd century. I can't wait to tell you about this in my June wrap-up, because I blinking loved it and I didn't think it was going to be for me, but lovely CJ Reads kind of pushed me over the edge. I'd heard quite a few people talk about it in a positive way, but there's something in the way CJ talks about it, I was like, yeah, I need to read this, and I thought it was fantastic. It's vignettes, it's set on the 6000 ship, which is out in space, where humans and humanoids are working together, and some objects have been discovered that are kind of changing everything, and it gets darker and darker. It is great. I bought going away from not being egotistical at all to possibly quite an egotistical buy. I got myself The Mission House in paperback by Karis Davis. I loved this book and raved about it when it came out, and I have the hardback, but when I don't know if you're the same. When a book I loved in hardback comes out, I always go and look at the paperback when it's released and flick through. And when I was flicking through, I did notice that there was a quote by me there. And so I want this for my private library. Well, it is private, but my personal collection, if you know what I mean. Although personal collection, I always think it sounds really seedy. But downstairs, not in this room, I have another room where I keep all the books that I've read, and that's where this is going to go. Because, yeah, it's a special moment to be quoted, and I should be proud of it and not embarrassed about it or call myself egotistical because I want to have a copy of it. Anyway, this was from Inc. 84. which is in Highbury. Then this, as well as Shirley Jackson's The Road Through the Wall, I bought in London Review of Books, which is one of my favourite bookshops. It does amazing cake. Had a good look around, had some cake, went back and bought. And this is Shirley Jackson's debut novel, and I think I'm going to read Shirley Jackson from the beginning. I've read a couple of her books and really, really well. I've enjoyed them. One of them I didn't understand what the absolute was going on, but I thought I watched the film Shirley with Elizabeth Moss playing her, and it made me more intrigued about her. And I was going to read Hangsman next because that's what she's writing in that film, but I thought no, this is a chance to go from the beginning and go forward. And I believe this is all about nosy neighbours, basically, which I love because I'm one of those people, I can't help it. Every time I go past someone's house, I sort of look through the windows and imagine what the lives are going on in there and everything, and I think this is going to appeal to that part of me. Then in Hoxton Books, where me and Melanie filmed our latest book club, which I've already mentioned, I'll link down below, where we talked about Shuggy Bane with a bit of drilling in the background. I got people as I met them that week, and actually it only ended up being two of them, but two delightful folk, to pick books for me that I would spend my book tokens on, which I kept forgetting and then just spending money in bookshops, which is great because I was supporting them. But Melanie picked me Spring Cannot Be Cancelled by David Hockney and Martin Gayford. And I'm dipping in and out of this at the moment because I want to savour it, really. And it looks at how David Hockney responded to COVID and how initially he was like, it's not making any difference to my life at all, but then it slowly but surely did. And yeah, I'm really, really, really enjoying this so far. Sorry, I had a terrible nose itch. I also picked up Minor Detail in Hoxton Books by Adania Shibley, and I've read this and I think this is utterly brilliant as well. It's a book very much of two halves, the first half of which we follow an Israeli soldier leading up to a particular date in August and something that happens. We then, in the second half, skip 25 years ahead, where a woman is looking at what history and indeed the soldier consider a minor detail, and trying to find out much more about it because it's such a horrific event. So yeah, incredible. Then I went to Cogito Books in Hexham because I had an event there for work, and I picked up Pig Iron by Benjamin Myers, who is an author that I absolutely adore. And I haven't read all of his books. In fact, I haven't read his new short story collection, which makes me annoyed with myself because I bet if I had, it would be one of my books for the first half of the year, but it's gone the first half of the year, and I'm not going to cheat, even though you might not get my best books of the year so far until the end of July. Yeah, I don't know much about this other than I really, really love his writing. This is one of his earlier novels that I didn't have, so I got it because I saw it. I then met the lovely Grace of GK Reads, and she picked me from The Bound, which is a new bookshop in Whitby, not far out of Newcastle near the seaside. And we met up, which is also in my independent bookshop reading blog, which, like I said, I'll link down below. And she chose for me Anne Cleeve's The Long Call, which I've also read. And this is about a gay detective called Matthew Venn. And I know that shouldn't matter, but that was kind of one of the reasons that Grace picked it for me. Yeah, I've really, really, really enjoyed this, and I will tell you more about it in my wrap up. It's made me want to, well, actually, no, you'll see what it made me go on to find. The other book that I picked up was one that Kit DeWall had recommended on Sky Arts Book Club Live last year when she was on the show, and it was Leonard and Hungry Paul by Ronan Hessian. Now, I don't remember what she said about it. All I remember is how enthusiastic she was about it and how she was saying everyone should read it. It's also from a small independent press called Blue Moose Books, which I really, really like. And so, yeah, when I saw that on the table in The Bound, I was like, right, I have to have it. And do you know what? I have to say, particularly in Hoxton Books, The Bound, and Ink 84, small presses were so celebrated. It was brilliant to see. So yeah, then I went to Oswestry, where I bought a couple of books with Chris, which I can't tell you about because they're for his birthday, which is on Sunday coming up. He's 50. And I shall be vlogging the celebrations because next weekend, so much delightful stuff going on. I think, well, Chris doesn't know anything about it, but I think if he did, I'd still be possibly more excited. No, I don't think I would. I think he will be more excited than me, but I'm super duper excited. But what I bought for myself were copies of The First Woman by Jennifer Nansabuga Makumbi, which has recently won the Jalak Prize, and I have wanted to read for ages. I absolutely loved her short story collection, Manchester Happened. I haven't read Kintu yet, and I must. But yeah, this I really want to get to, and I'm very, very, very excited for it. And then I bought myself This Lovely City by Louise Hare, which is about a man who comes to England on the Windrush, and then he's not been very long before he discovers something awful in the local park, and we follow on from there. And then I started to collect every book by Kai Miller without having read any books by Kai Miller, because I just think he sounds like an author that I'm going to absolutely love. And it's ever since I read I can't even think. I can see that Open Water, and Kai Miller was mentioned as an author in it, and I bought the book that was mentioned then. Since then, a collection of his essays has come out, and then there's this novel. So yeah, I'm going to be collecting him, even though I've not read any of him, because I think he's going to be a new favourite author. We all have those, don't we? Yes, we do. Thank you. Don't question that. So those are all the books that I bought on Independent Bookshop Week. Then, when I went to Portsmouth, another reading vlog, which I'll link down below, for an amazing event in a library there for work, I had to go through London. So I had to come into Euston, go through London and get a train at Waterloo, and had a bit of time at Waterloo, and they had a foils I've never been to. And oh my goodness, the display there was so brilliant that I came away instantly with Can the Monster Speak by Paul B. Preciado. And this is not a TED talk they gave, but a talk that they gave as a psychiatrist to psychiatrists about what it's like to be trans, because they are a trans man. And it's so interesting. I will say it gets a little bit academic, but it is really, really, really interesting. And yeah, I'll tell you more about it in my June wrap up, as I will Las Beauty Queens by Ivan Mona Lisa Ojeda. And this tells of a fictional character called Ivan Mona Lisa Ojeda, who is part of the Latinx trans community in New York, and what it is like to be a trans person there, what it's like to be in the sex work industry, and how you are treated, and what it's like when you go to prison, or how if you ever have to go to hospital. And yeah, it's a really, really, really incredible, frank collection of short stories, but also slightly auto-fiction, I think. So yeah, brilliant. And I hadn't seen that anywhere until I went into that foils. I then picked up Fire Watching by Russ Thomas. Now, I've been sent the sequel to this, and one of the reasons I picked it up was I'd heard that it was a gay detective, and having really enjoyed The Long Call by Anne Cleeves, which featured a gay detective, I wanted to read another one. And because that's the first in Anne Cleeves series, so there's a new series by Anne Cleeves, I've got to wait a while. So yeah, this will sort of be that hit, I think, before the next one of Anne Cleeves comes along. And then at the corner of my eye as I was leaving, I saw Batlava Lake by Adam Mars Jones. I love Adam Mars Jones. Quite a few Fitzcarraldo editions, which is interesting because I always think that they're going to be really pretentious and I'm not going to get on with them. And that hasn't proven to be the case with the two that I've read. Anyway, I don't know what this is about. I didn't really care what it was about because I loved Adam Miles Jones' Box Hill. In fact, I've loved every novel of his that I've read. I've not read some of his non-fiction, actually. And yeah, so this, I was so excited when I saw it, and I hadn't heard anything about it. And then last but not least, I went to Pigeon Books in Southsea, which is next to Portsmouth, and where I actually used to live when I was a hairdresser in Portsmouth years ago, and in a horrible relationship, which would make me very nervous about going back to Portsmouth. But thankfully, I had such an amazing time, and the city looked so different. It was actually very good for my brain to go and sort of rewrite what I remember of that city. So yeah, but the two books I bought were one that I've been meaning to get for ages, which is What White People Can Do Next by Emma DeBeery, who I had the pleasure of doing a video for YouTube for their BookTube channel, and she was a delight. And I know that Lauren is a huge fan of, where is it? I've got it on my shelves there. Don't Touch My Hair. And I've been meaning to read that for ages, but I want to read this one first. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And the other one that I bought was, interestingly, out of order of what they've been published, but Heaven by Meiko Kawakami, and I know that everyone's gone mad about breast and eggs, or actually no, I've seen a mixture of responses to breast and eggs, and it's quite a chunk. So I thought, right, I'm going to try the new short book by them, which is a little bit of a cheat, I know. Well, it's not a cheat, is it? Because you read what you want when you want and sod it. But yeah, I'm going to head to this in due course at some point. So there we go. Those are all the books that I got in the second half of June. I thought I was going to do that quickly. I haven't at all, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And I will see you on Thursday for some exciting news and 18 books. I think 18 books I hope you will read along with me over the next 6 months. Ooh, see you all then. Bye.